I bet you have never heard of the African Stonehenge. That's what we're going to talk about in this conversation. We're going to talk about the African Stonehenge. We're going to talk about Inanna and Dumuzi. We're going to talk about the FOXP2 gene. We're going to talk about the vast, ancient, lost civilization of Africa. That, hold on to your hat on this one, that predates Sumer and Egypt. Oh, this is going to be a hot one. So, who am I? I'm Reverend Valerie Love, also known as Kai Easy. I'm the author of over 25 books on practical spirituality. You can pick them up at Amazon.com. All of them are listed out on ValerieLove.com. And my latest book that I'm working on right now, the treasure that I'm working on right now, my books are stacked up over here, is The Real God is Not in the Bible. The Bible is not about God. The Bible is a universal textbook for all humans. God is not in the Bible. The Bible's not about God. The Bible's not inspired by God. The Bible is a book of literature, allegory, astrology, metaphor, magic, mysticism. Uh, Absolutely, the ancient star people, they're in the Bible. The Romans, governments, all of that is in the Bible. It's just not from God. It is humanity's book, not just for Christians. So let's get into the African Stonehenge, shall we? Shall we? So let's talk first about what we were told, because what we were told, family, is not true. It just isn't. Here's what we were told. We were told that the oldest civilization on this planet is Sumer, 6,000 years ago, which is currently in modern day Iraq. That's what we were told. And we were told that this civilization had, of course, astronomy, they had knowledge of the planets, celestial knowledge, cosmic knowledge. We were also told that they were the first ones to develop huge city states, that they were the first ones to develop governance, laws. We were also told that they were the first to develop writing, cuneiform writing. We were also told that this was where it all started. Now, in addition to that's where human civilization started. All of us, human civilization started 6,000 years ago in Sumer. And then shortly after that, it spread to Egypt. That's what we were told. So we don't go back in this whole academic way of looking at things, what's taught in school, what's taught in history, doesn't go back any further than about 6,000 or some odd years as far as human civilization, towns and cities and governance and municipalities and large gatherings of people living in one place. They tell us that started in Sumer 6,000 years ago. That's not true. That is absolutely not true. And we're going to talk about it in this conversation. Absolutely not true at all. Now, before we go any further, let's go on screen share so that I can share why I am talking about this information, because I am not talking about this information to discredit anyone, to discredit religion, to discredit the Bible. I love the Bible. I have a very specific, very clear intention on sharing this information. So let's go on screen share and let's get into the African Stonehenge. I promise you, you probably have never seen, most of the world has never even heard of an African Stonehenge. You're going to see it. You're going to learn today. You're going to learn today. Let's go on screen share. Oh my goodness, we have so many delicious things to talk about, family. I'm so happy you're here. We are here on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with The Real God is Not in the Bible. This is streaming live to the Valerie Love YouTube channel and the Christian Witches YouTube channel. Yay! Let's get into it. Now, let me make sure. Let me get this right for you. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. All right. Wow, we have a lot to talk about. So, welcome to the Christian Witches conversation. Like I said, we're here on Wednesday nights on Happy Witchy Wednesday. This is the Valerie Love YouTube channel and the Christian Witches YouTube channel. So I want to share, if you're brand new here, because we have thousands of new subscribers on the Valerie Love YouTube channel. Yay! And the Christian Witches YouTube channel, we have new subscribers there too. So if you are brand new to this series, let me share clearly the purpose of this series. The purpose of this series is to get to the truth of human origins. Because family, we've been lied to, right? We already know it's not Adam and Eve in a garden 6,000 years ago. We do know that, right? Yeah, what were humanity's origins? And our modern science is telling us that the evolutionary theory has holes in it that cannot be explained, some of which I will talk about tonight in this conversation. Also, I want to provide in this series conclusive evidence, as well as in the book, that the real God is not in the Bible. It is critical for us to understand that, because if we think that that God that is in the Bible, that people hating God is the real God, that warring God, and if we don't understand and recognize that these are all Anunnaki stories, and we really think God operates that like that, and if we worship that deity, it will give us license to do horrible things in the name of that deity's name as well, which has happened over thousands of years with humans. And to really free all of us from the heavy yoke of thinking that you have to believe in the Bible, and to end war, to have peace, to understand we're one family from one source, and to get along. Can we all just get along? We can. We can do it. We can do it. This is the book right now. It is available at my website, valerielove.com. I'm going to drop a little link for you in the chat for the book. Thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone who has the book, and who also, it's valerielove.com/books, and who also did a review. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I so appreciate you, and I so thank all of the books that you all are buying and that has kept this book on the bestseller list in controversial knowledge and other bestsellers. I love it. New to your channel, excited to catch you live. Yay! Aisha, I'm so happy you're here. I was at a crossroads with what my parents taught me as God until I discovered the truth that Christians can be witches. Yes, indeed. Baby, this whole community is full of Christian witches around here. Yes, we are magical, and we didn't get rid of our Bibles. We didn't get rid of our Bibles. Ooh, where do you get your resources from? That is such an excellent question. Okay, so let me show you this. First, I want you to look at this book. You can buy the ebook from the author, which is myself, which is always wonderful. If you do choose to buy the book from me, which I so appreciate, I love all of you all that buy the book from me. You get instant access to it as an ebook. You can do it right now. You'll get the book right now. You can follow along with us as we're talking this conversation, as well as there is a mini course, which you'll see a link for it in the book, that has my pictures, my videos, my behind the scene things that I don't talk a lot about in this live, because I can't put everything in the live streams, right? So there's a lot of behind the scenes research that you can get in a mini course, that if you choose to, you can buy the mini course after you get the book if you choose to. Also, in the book, I list tons of resources for you. So that's in the book. So if you choose to buy the book from me, yay, I so appreciate it. And if you know authors who are selling their books, it's always good for the author if you can buy the book from the author. That's always wonderful. Now, of course, if you want to buy it on Amazon, you can absolutely buy it on Amazon as well. I love it. And I love the reviews. And thank you for keeping this book on bestseller lists. Yay! Yay, yay. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I freaking love you for that. I love that for us. I love that for us. All right, so that is the book. Make sure you get your copy of the book. Get the book. And the paperback is coming out probably in another year. I know that sounds crazy, right? The reason the paperback is coming out in another year is because I'm still expanding the ebook. And what I love about the ebook is that when you buy the ebook and I expand, you get the bigger version. So I'm still building on the ebook. And when I have the ebook where I want it, then I'm going to come out with the paperback book. It'll be a while because I'm adding so much to it. Oh my goodness. And if you have the ebook, whether you bought it from me or whether you bought it on Amazon, you have updates. So when I add new material to the book, we actually update the new manuscript to both all of the ones who bought it from me and all of the ones who have bought it from Amazon. So you always have the most up to date. All right. What's my intention for this conversation and talking about the African Stonehenge and where we all came from? Well, there's a three-part clear intention and purpose for this discussion. One, everyone is from Africa. Please tell this too. I don't care about black, white, Chinese, tall, short, man, lady, other, da, 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 da. Everybody is from Africa. Let me come off screen share because it's very important that we understand this. It's very important that we understand this. I want to say something to us. In America, which by the way, is the only place that has this. And I have been to dozens upon dozens upon dozens of countries. America is still obsessed with black and white. But as soon as you step your foot out of America, these United States of America, if that's where you're watching from, if this is not where you're watching from, you can just observe us and our American craziness. As soon as you step your foot out of the United States of America, everyone will refer to you as an American. They don't refer to you as an African American. They don't refer to you as a white American. You're American. When you come out of America, now when you're in America, you're black or you white, or you're brown because we have Mexican people and Spanish people and whatnot. Do we understand this is an American obsession? And it did not come from the infinite source. The infinite source, the more you meditate, the more you understand the infinite source is colorless. Yes, there's culture. Yes, I love my African culture. Yes, I celebrate my culture. Yes, I love when other people celebrate their culture. Yes, I celebrate my Scottish ancestors too, because I did my genealogy and I went deep into my own genealogy. Come off of black and white America. Can we come off of black and white? Ain't there no other colors? And then on top of that, people are not colors. People are people. And I have found that there are good people and there are not so good people in every race, creed, culture around the world. I'm not saying to deny your heritage. Absolutely not. I love my heritage. I celebrate my heritage as I would celebrate the heritage. I've been to a powwow and I would celebrate the heritage of Native American Navajo people. I celebrate the heritage of Mayan people. They have different customs than us. So we get to celebrate our cultures, be proud of who you are and where you came from without thinking yours is better than someone else's. Like, why is that so hard for us to get? And then, woo, they did a job on us in America. They invented, do you know that black and white are inventions of the human mind? The divine doesn't know anything about black and white. It doesn't know anything about that. And when you go into the infinite consciousness, which is energy, it's not physicality, it's energy. I tell you a story. Why are you against the Anunnaki? I'm not against the Anunnaki. I love the Anunnaki. Just seen a YouTube short and it led me here. Oh, great. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. Let me share something that happened when I went to Peru. So, you may not know this if you're brand new here. I lead retreats all around the world, right? And I used to say all the time, you would never see me pick up a Black Lives Matter. I know my life matters, and I know all Black lives matter, and I know all lives matter. You would never see me in the streets. Black Lives Matter. I'm not going to try to convince somebody that my life matters. My life matters, and all Black people's lives matter, and all the people's lives matter. I'm for team human race. That's what I'm for. I'm for team humor. I'm for the whole planet. Not this against this. This is how the elites and the powers that be keep people under the thumb and keep people in subjectivity, because they keep us fighting against each other, because they know if we unite, it's over. If we unite, it's over. So let us stop being divided. Divided we fall, united we conquer. Right? How you loving? Come on in. Come on in, family. I'm constantly being referred to as an American woman when I travel. That's right. So let me tell y'all what happened when I went to Peru. I go to Peru, and on the way to leading a retreat for ayahuasca in Cusco, my plane stops in Lima. Now, in Lima, I did not realize, and I fly this a lot, so don't ask me what I was thinking of. I didn't remember, oh, I need to go pick up my luggage first and recheck it. So I did not pick up my luggage first and recheck it. And so they were calling, and they were, calling me. And then I heard them talking about me on their intercom thing, going back and forth. The lady was talking, and they were talking in Spanish, and my Spanish, I'm still getting there, even after being in Mexico for many years. I'm still getting there with my Spanish. And they were like, Americana, Americana. They didn't say, oh, this Black lady over here. They said the Americana. Look, when you step out of side of America, you're American. Where are you from? Oh, America. So Black people, get get all that black white stuff out your mind. Is gunking your mind up, and is preventing us from being one. They made up black and white. No ancient culture referred to themselves as black and in colors. We're the only ones doing that. Ancient cultures referred to themselves as the Phoenician or Egyptian or Israelite or the Canaanite or Jebusite. They didn't refer, and they were all different shades of people. But now we are so deep into the thought that a shade of something on the outside is supposed to portray something about the inside. It's a bizarre thought. I never agreed with it, but it could be that I never really agreed with it or got into it because I grew up in New York, in New York City, and it was a melting pot. And in the morning, you would be eating some bagels and lox from Jewish people, and in the afternoon, you would be eating a Cuban sandwich, a cubano from the Cuban brothers and sisters making a Cuban sandwich in the oven thingy that they got to mash the sandwich down, ham and cheese. It was so delicious. I don't ham anymore. And then in the evening, you would eat some Italian food from Little Italy. Like what? What? We all in this together. It wasn't. Let's stop being divided. Let's stop it. Let's stop it. Let's stop it. I stand for oneness. Oneness. So don't let the color of my skin make you think, and don't think that because I'm telling you about the African Stonehenge that I'm black power, only black people got it. Everybody's divine. Now, to what extent they choose to express it is another conversation. And I promise you, that has nothing to do with skin color because I've been to Egypt, I've been to the Middle East, Dubai, I've been to the Far East, China, Hong Kong, I've been to Indonesia, Thailand, Bali. Well, Bali is in Indonesia. I've been to Europe, Greece, Italy, London, Paris, south of France. I've been all through Europe. I've been through the Caribbean. I've been through the Americas, Peru, Mexico, all around, dozens of countries. I promise you, every country has people that are wonderful. Most people are just wonderful. Doesn't have anything to do with what color they are wearing in this lifetime. And then every so often you have some scandalous people. And it has nothing to do with the exterior. I can promise you that. I know that for sure. It's not a guess. I went around this planet and looked for myself. So if you've never been outside of America, I recommend you start with China because Chinese people love black people. Chinese people love black people. You will be like an anomaly walking down the street in China. They'll be like, they'll want to take pictures with you. I promise you. They took so many selfies of me, and I'm in a lot of Chinese people's phones. Like, who is that lady? Because it's exotic. Let's continue. I had to come off screen share just to say that. Let's continue with our the real God is not the Bible. Real God is not the Bible. African Stonehenge. What are you saying? There's a Stonehenge in Africa. This Stonehenge will knock your socks off. I promise you. Okay, so family, everyone's from Africa. Stop being black and white. You're just, we're all from Africa. That's it. Now, it's also in the Bible if we know how to use the code, because the code told us in Genesis, it gave us a clue. Genesis gave us a clue. Genesis said that there were 4 rivers running through Eden. And it also said, and people thought Tigris, Euphrates, it must be talking about Mesopotamia. It must be talking about Sumer because the Tigris and the Euphrates River that's Mesopotamia, literally means between the 2 rivers. Mesopotamia, it's like a pot. It's like between the 2 rivers. That's literally what it means, the Tigris and the Euphrates. No, because it also named 2 other rivers. And then it said Havilah. Ha ha ha. Here is the clue. Havilah, it uses the word Havilah in the Bible. It means gold. It's the land that is rich in gold, which is what the Bible said is where the Garden of Eden was. Ah ha ha ha! Gold. Now, we might not know what Genesis chapter 2 is talking about, but the Bible already told you where the Garden of Eden was, and it's not in Mesopotamia. But you'll understand that after we go through what we're going to look at. So it's in the Bible, it's just coded. Okay, next, we want to understand the ancient stories of the Bantu peoples of Africa. Now, this civilization that I'm going to talk to you about is a lost African civilization that predates both Sumer and Egypt, an established civilization. I'm not talking about hominids walking around, bipedal people walking around, because everybody knows Lucy and all of those came from Africa. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about bones and whatnot. We'll get into some of those bones of who they found in Africa. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a civilization hundreds of thousands of years ago. African Stonehenge. Now, African Stonehenge is Adam's calendar and a stone circle near it. It is a site located in Mpumalanga, South Africa, at a small village, Cape Loop. I hope I'm saying that right. And it is considered to be the oldest structure created by humans. They say man-made, right? It's not nature. In other words, it's not made by nature. Someone made it. Let's look at it. This is African Stonehenge. Now, it's in the middle of South Africa. Well, not in the middle of South Africa. It's east in South Africa. I'm going to show you exactly where it is on the map. But I want you to look at this. First of all, what do we notice about African Stonehenge? It's near a cliff. Do we see here that this is set right on a cliff? It's high up, high up. Now, by all means, please research this. Please put in your Google, I'm going to show you the books that I work with research that I work with on this African Stonehenge, because a lot of people don't even want to talk about it, and archaeologists don't even want to go there. So you can't really find a lot about the African Stonehenge. It's kind of like, yeah, it's down there somewhere in Africa. Similar to how they treat Africa with a lot of things. you know, similar to how they treat. We just got to get better. The human race has got to get better with understanding Africa as a major player on the world scene. But Western civilization has yet to learn that Western civilization thinks that the Greeks and Romans were gods. They revere the Greeks and they fear the Romans. The Romans had the greatest, hugest civilization ever. No, they didn't. And the Greeks were the smartest people ever. No, they weren't. But that's what Western academia and Western civilization wants to get us to believe. They want to get us to revere the Greeks and fear the Romans as these amazing people that. I'm not taking anything away from the Greeks and the Romans. I'm saying that there were people who came along thousands, hundreds of thousands of years before them and did it. They were not the first. They were not. They were not the inventors of it. And we're going to prove that in a moment. Okay. So let's continue with this African Stonehenge. So, what we have here is what? Well, there was a pilot who crashed his, how did they even find it? He crashed his plane. And when he got out of his plane, he saw these huge basalt. He lived, thank God. He saw these huge basalt structures in front of him. And he's like, oh, that's not nature. And so then he called his friend Michael Tellinger. Michael Tellinger is the creator of this book. Actually, you can watch him right here on YouTube. I'm actually going to ask and see if I can interview him. He is absolutely astonishing. Michael Tellinger is the author of African Temples of the Anunnaki, the lost technology of the gold mines of Enki. This book will it'll it'll just drop your jaw. Let me give you the link to the book. Let's go to Amazon. If you would use my Amazon link, that would be great. As an Amazon influencer, I am compensated when you buy from this link. I have to let you know that. That's fair disclosure. Let's get to Michael Tellinger. Is he on this list? Let me get Michael Tellinger. And he also wrote Slave Species of the Gods. Mm. He wrote this book. Let me get the link for you. Slave Species of the Gods. Hold on, I'm going to drop it into the chat. I like to do it right while I'm on with you. Michael Tellinger, it'll knock your socks off. And let me put paid link. This is an affiliate link. Thank you for using the affiliate link and supporting the channel. That's so wonderful. And I also want you to look up African Temples of the Anunnaki. This man has been all over these temples and temples of the African gods, Temple of the African Gods. Oh my goodness. This book right here, knock your socks off. Extensive pictures, extensive research. He was so taken by it that he moved there so that he could do continuous, ongoing study of these ancient sites that it would appear many people did not even want to study. Okay, paid link. This is the baddest empress on the net. I love it. I love it. Thank you for being here. I love you. I love you. I love you. Michael Tellinger. Open your eyes, family. It is an African Stonehenge. Please run out and tell all your friends, all your family, there's an African Stonehenge because people seem to not know that it exists. Now let's go deeper because this thing is going to drop your jaw. Do you see that it's a calendar? It's a sundial. And not only is it a sundial, it has three basalt stones right here. Actually, I believe they're andesite. They might not be basalt. They might be andesite that are in the exact formation of Orion's belt. Okay. Then here, thousands of years before Horus shows up in Egypt, Horus is here, the bird stone, facing due east, but there's more. Going this way, It is still a dial because one axis is the fall equinox, one is the spring equinox, one is the winter solstice, one is the summer solstice. It still works. So if you go there right now, depending on where the sun is, the larger stone still casts the light, right? Blocks the light onto the smaller stone behind it. So in any time as the sun moves around, you know exactly what time it is. The calendar still works. But now, how old is this calendar? Hold on, let's go back to how old this calendar is. 75,000 years old. Not 6,000, not 3,000 BCE, not 6,000 BCE. 75,000 years old. Some have even dated it and said that the patina on some of the stones there would indicate that this African Stonehenge is 100,000 to 200,000 years old. Wait a minute. Someone was smart enough to know about lining these huge monolithic stones with Orion's belt, the fall equinox, the spring equinox, the winter solstice, the summer solstice, put it all in a clock on the top of a mountain, and it's still there and it's still operational 100,000 years ago. But they told us that we weren't smart enough to do that yet. We didn't get civilization until 6,000 years ago in Sumer. That's what they told us. It's not adding up. It doesn't add up. Now, how Martin says, so I did 23 and 78, put it together and got 6. It's not adding up. All right, let's go further. Also, but wait, there's more. African Stonehenge. I'm going there. I've got to go there because after, I'll tell you why in a moment. I'll tell you why I've got to go there. Because I've been to many ancient cities and I've got to go here. Now, this is one of the stone circles near Adam's calendar. They call it Adam's calendar because it's old as Methuselah. Well, apparently it's older than Methuselah, right? So old as dirt. Near it is a stone circle. The stone circle has, as you can see, a correspondence to sacred geometry. What? The people who created the stones, or the beings, whoever they were, I say it was the Anunnaki. You get to make that up for yourself who it is. The beings that constructed, and like all of the constructions that we see of monolithic, the stones were from far away. Why is that always a feature? The stones are always super heavy. They're like 5 tons each, these, which is actually lighter than the pyramid stones because those are something like 20 tons each, and there's millions of them. And supposedly they tell us that slaves brought them up the river. I mean, this is a ridiculous story. Why would we believe anything these people tell us about these ancient structures? Because clearly they're making shit up. They're just making it up to try to make it fit their narrative and not think about ancient star people. We can't think about ancient star people. We have to throw out anything that's out of the realm of what we think it could be. We have to keep it dumbed down for the people because if the people find out that the star people are still here, everybody's going to freak out. I don't think everyone will freak out. I think we'll be happy to know the truth because people know things. People have been getting abducted for years. We keep hearing the same stories over and over again of abductions and similar things. It's like near death experiences. People have similar things happening. It's like ayahuasca experiences. People have similar things happening. So there's something to it. Okay, so not only were the creators of Adam's calendar 100,000, let's just call it 100,000 plus years ago, with deep celestial knowledge and also knowledge of ancient of geometry, sacred geometry. Let's go further. What else do we find? Gold. Gold. Rich in gold deposits. Now, these stone circles are all, oh, that was not the only stone circle. They have found millions. At first, they thought there were about 20,000 stone circles. I'm going to show you pictures of them in a moment. Now, across between Zimbabwe, South Africa, I'm going to show you a map in a moment. They have found millions of stone circles, and all of them are near gold mines. Hmm. What were these stone circles for? Well, the archaeologists try to tell us, the mainstream ones, the academic ones, they try to tell us, oh, these were enclosures for animals, except some of the stone circles don't have doors. What? It's all the way enclosed. Stones, I'm going to show you some of these stone circles. They're completely enclosed. So, how is that for cattle coming and going? In addition to that, we do understand that in archaeology, all archaeologists will tell you this, that people come along in waves and then they build on top of something that's super old. So they might be looking at people who were there a few thousand years ago and how they built their hut structure on top of this very ancient, sophisticated thing. And then they say, oh, these people used it. No, the original ones who were here, according to Michael Tellinger, this civilization in Africa spanned tens of thousands of square miles. Many of them lived in Greater Zimbabwe. That was the name of it, right? Great Zimbabwe, of which Great Zimbabwe is a very ancient name. And the country to this day is still named Zimbabwe, a great African kingdom civilization. I don't want you to think in terms of black and white. Please, people, that's going to stump you because we were all together and people weren't thinking in terms of black and white by then. People hadn't, they hadn't started to migrate to China and this place and that place and the other place yet. In this civilization that I'm talking about, I'm not talking about the millions of old Neanderthals and the Denisovans and all of those early ancestors. We're going to talk about them in a moment. Why are there so many stone circles all over South Africa? South Africa, Zimbabwe, all over for tens of thousands of miles. Do you understand how many stone circles I'm talking about? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. Actually, you can Google it. I have it in the book, but I want you to look at stone circles in South Africa just so you can understand the extent of the stone circles that are in Africa that even extend. This is just what some of them look like. That even extend. I had never seen such in my life until I read this book. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. Stone structures. This is what they look like from the sky. This one is on the cover of the book. Some of them have specific names because they're in specific shapes. And here's one. Some of them are covered by growth. You can see there's stone circles and there's greenery covering them, right? All over. I'm talking about, look at the formation. Look at the formations in the stone circles. And the stone circles don't have openings to come out. What were these stone circles for? They're all associated with the gold mines. What were they doing? Using the earth to produce energy. They're all by gold mines. Just like there were, it's millions of them spread across, I said, tens of thousands of square miles. Can you fathom the enormity? And no, it wasn't a few of the native Bantu people dragging some rocks from the water. No, no, it was not. So what we have here, and what's even really amazing about these stone circles is they measured the frequency of people. Well, first of all, these stone circles are producing some kind of energy. And I'll show you how that could be. Because if you look at where they're located, this could give us a clue as to how are they producing this energy. I want to show you this. Boom. Now, here is the Great Pyramid of Giza. Here is Greater Zimbabwe and African Stonehenge. Well, okay, that's not too unusual, but look. Whoa, they're on the same 31st longitude. They're on the same, the pyramids of Egypt coming down to Great Zimbabwe, coming down to the pyramids that are just in the valley below Adam's calendar, are all on the 31st meridian east. You know, longitude, the invisible lines around the whole earth. That, according to Nikola Tesla, this is starting to make sense, isn't it? According to Nikola Tesla, he said, let's go back to Nikola Tesla. This is what he said. He said that there was frequency coming from the earth. We could harness it. And he wanted to put up a tower, which he did put up a tower, so that anyone could just connect to the tower and have free energy. The earth is producing enough frequency for everyone on the planet to have free energy. But who would want you to have free energy? Not the powers that be. Because energy and money are key mechanisms for control. Because you need energy to stay warm. Everyone needs energy. So you find the most legislation around energy, which is free for everybody. Electricity is free. Why do we make ourselves slaves to the people that give us electricity? And if you don't pay, you don't get electricity. That's not what the universe said. The universe said is free electricity for everyone. Why did y'all set up a system where you have to pay to exist? Interesting. Now, these stone circles have been found all over, like I said, and they're all near the gold. And that whole area, as we know, South Africa, tons of gold. That's why there was so much fighting. That's why there was so much war. The African, the Boer War, and all those wars that happened, gold. Because the Anunnaki taught us as humans to be obsessed with gold like they are. Gold is not even the best mineral. Mineral. It's not the best mineral. We're obsessed with it. Humanity is obsessed with gold. Okay, so we looked at the landscape, we looked at the archaeology, we looked at the celestial correlations of the archaeology. Let's look at now the mythology of the people that live there. Now, there's the Bantu people. You know, there are many different ways of looking at Bantu people because some consider it to be many different groups of people that are in Africa. So I'm going to talk about the very, 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 very ancient Bantu people, or AKA the Abantu, who it literally means children of Antu. And who was Antu? Antu was Anu's consort, his wife. Anu was the great quote unquote sky father, right? The father of the gods. Not a god. The Anunnaki were not gods, they were simply an advanced civilization. And they loved Antu. Loved her, loved her, loved her. She was like this great mother of humanity. which for me makes me think of Mami Wata, makes me think of Yemaya, makes me think of all the great mother goddesses. I feel like all the stories that we have in our consciousness of the great mother goddess, even the Mother Mary, who is another mother goddess, is from Antu in the devotion of the mother. She's an archetype. That's literally where Bantu comes from. Now, what did the Bantu people say? They said that a creator god, Mulungu, made humans from clay or from earth. Does that sound familiar? And they were created in the image of their creator, and they were put in a paradise type of surrounding. Then they also speak of a serpent type of being who had handed human creation. Anytime you see serpent, you are looking at Inky. And the serpent motif always usually is accompanied by feathers or wings because, of course, they say that these people were flying back and forth from heaven to earth and back and forth. I'm going to show you what I put in the book because it is very important that we understand how many stories around the globe say the same thing. Are we going to keep ignoring all the stories around the globe just so we don't have to think about the Anunnaki? The Dogon people tell us that there are people that came from the sky, they call them the Nomos. They came from the Sirius star system. And the Dogon know all about Sirius A and Sirius B before Sirius B was invented. The Zulu people talk about Amu Zimu Zimu, Ama Zimu Zimu, an ancient race of star people that brought wisdom and knowledge of the physical worlds. The Maasai talk about, whom I visited in 2009, it was wonderful. The Maasai say that they are direct descendants of beings from the Pleiades, right? The seven sisters. We're star people. We are star people. Greek mythology talks about when the gods walked among us. Indian texts, the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, they're all talking about gods and goddesses and their flying machines. The Rig Veda literally talks about the flying chariots, just like they talk about in the Bible, the flying chariots that Enoch and Elijah and Ezekiel got on. It's a Vimana. The Popol Vuh, Mayan talks about there was Star Wars, there was Star Wars. There were wars in heaven. All of these stories. The Aztec have stories. The Lakota have stories. The Hopi have stories. Are we saying that all these people don't know what they're talking about when they're all passing along ancient, ancient star people stories? And the star people stories line up. They line up. And the star people taught us interesting things. The star people taught us, the book of Enoch says the same thing, that the star people taught us weaponry, they taught us agriculture, they taught us agronomy, they taught us beer making, jewelry making, how to make makeup, how to paint your lips, eyeshadow, magic, herbology, healing. So whenever you see a serpent, always think inky. Now, I want to talk about Baba Credo Mutwa. He's an African shaman, and this particular African shaman is known as a Sangoma. Now, I want to say something about it being an African shaman. I'm going to come off screen share for this because I have right now a very good sister friend of mine, who is currently in South Africa. And she's been in South Africa for the better part of almost a year, undergoing her initiation to be a Sangoma with the Zulu. And a Sangoma is a shaman. Now, in the African world of shamanistic understanding, there's different kinds of shaman, right? So there could be a shaman that's very good at divination because perhaps your ancestors were good at divination. There are some shaman that are good at um, healing because they come from a line of healers, right? Look at that, Demetria. I love that. It says Zulu means heaven, South Africa. I love it. I love it. In the West, civilization had its origins in Mesopotamia. That's what they say. It's a lie. It's a lie. That's what they say. They say that's what they told us. That's what's in the history books. They lied. That's why I'm here. They lied. No, it did not. And that's what this whole conversation is about. They told us civilization had its origins in Mesopotamia 6,000 years ago. It's not true. It just is not. Okay. James, come on, James. Almost every culture speaks of some form of star brothers, sisters. Yet the powers that be doesn't want people realizing this and ask questions they don't want to answer. Hello. Because the powers that be know about these starships because when they had the congressional hearings, it became clear that they knew about it. Congress didn't even know about it. High level officials in the American government, in the United States government, knew about this, didn't want to tell the people about it. And Congress is like, well, damn, y'all didn't even tell us about it. What are these? Do you have some? They were like, we can't say. That means yes, they have the craft, they have beings. They already came out and said it. So uh, it's for us to understand that we belong to a family that goes beyond a planet. Yet, if we can't get along with black and white, how you gonna get along with humans and Anunnaki? You see, we've got to deepen into pure universal love in order for the Galactic Federation to work for all people. Right? Yes, we're all star seeds. Some of us were seeded in Sirius. Life on this planet, a lot of it was seeded in Sirius. Some were from the Pleiades. Some were from Orion. We are star beings. In addition to being humans, we have both. And we have a connection to the primates of this planet, the mammals of this planet, because we're a mashup of the star people and divinity and the primates. We're connected to all of it, physically and symbolically. We're one. So if we're are we going to be warring again, having nuclear weaponry on this planet like they did back in the day when Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed? Sodom and Gomorrah were not destroyed for what they told you in the Bible, and the Lyrians, absolutely marvelous media, absolutely. Do we think that do people still think that Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed by destroyed by fire from God because they were gay? It's a lie. No, they weren't. Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed in a nuclear blast. And I covered this in detail in another one of these episodes. And that nuclear blast was from the warring factions of the Anunnaki. Star Wars is real. And we got to start wrapping our minds around the fact that we're not alone in this universe. We've got to wrap our minds around all these sightings we've been seeing. We're going to come face to face very soon with some beings. If you haven't already come face to face with some beings that don't look like you, we are going to come face to face with some beings real soon. Get ready. Get ready. Okay. All right, let's go further into our discussion. So we're going to go on screen share and back in deeper into the African Stonehenge, the ancient, lost, vanished civilization that possibly held millions of people 100,000 or more years ago. So, Baba Credo Mutwa is a shaman, and this is what he said. He said that Adam's calendar in South Africa, which we just looked at, is the birthplace of humanity. And he said is one of two of the most sacred sites on the entire planet. And the cave of humanity is near there. And they are still conducting initiations there. And they also call it the birthplace of the sun. Now, petroglyphs, because we want to go to, was there evidence? Did they leave evidence behind? Yes. They carved petroglyphs into the andesite stone, And the petroglyphs were in the shape of not only an ankh. How do we get ankhs? This was 100,000 years before Egypt. 100,000 years before Egypt. And a cross in a circle representing Mabona, who is called the Lord of Light. Now let's look at the picture in the book. I'm going to show you the exact picture. Make sure you get the book. Make sure you get the book. This is the book from Michael Tellinger. Does that look like a cross to you? It's very clear. I mean, we don't have to guess. It's a cross in a circle etched into a stone. This is a petroglyph, 100,000 years old. Andesite, which is one of the hardest stones on the planet, and you need a diamond tipped saw to cut into it. How are they cutting into it? How are they cutting into it? But they say that it started 66,000 years ago, and the 100,000 year ago humans couldn't have done this. That's what they tell us. What we're finding is not the same as what they told us. Let's continue. There's more. And I want you, because we are all about doing the research for ourselves. I want no one to believe anything I say. I want everyone to do their own research, become your own sovereign, be your own sovereign being. Go on your own quest, your own hero's quest. Go to these places. Come with us to Stonehenge. We're going to Stonehenge this year for the fall equinox. We'll be in Dubai in April for my 20th anniversary party. Yay! It's at valerielove.com. And if you come with us to Stonehenge for the fall equinox, we're going to watch the sunrise over Stonehenge on the fall equinox. So if you go to valerielove.com and you just click on global events, you will see that we travel the globe. That's us at the Serenity Retreat in Thailand. Stonehenge, you click on Stonehenge here. We're going to be there with all the druids and the shamans, and Stonehenge on the fall equinox. It's the Mystical Realms Retreat. It has several different options, singles or couples, and it has a great payment plan. And so we're going to be at Stonehenge on the fall equinox. Come with us. Would love for you to be with us there. Now, there are more ancient stories. The Abulungo were great white sky gods or heaven dwellers. They came from the sky. This is what some of the Zulu family tell us. They came, and I say family because everyone's family. That's why I'm always saying family. Everyone's family. Let us come into oneness. They came from the blue sky on giant wings, and they go back and forth to heaven in flashes of light. And the Zulu said that they gave them great knowledge, including goldsmithing. Now, we already talked about the 31st meridian east. We're going to talk more about that in future conversations. Now we want to talk about the great leap forward. What happened to us? So, who were these people that were living in this vast civilization in Africa, this vast lost civilization in Africa? Were these like pre-humans? Who were they? Because in the Rift Valley, that is considered the cradle of human civilization. That's where they found Lucy. That's where they find all of these diverse. Africa has the earliest and the most diverse fossil evidence of early hominins. What's a homonym? A hominin versus a hominid. Hominids are all great apes and their ancestors. That's gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, humans. We're all connected. I myself am not a believer in evolution over millions of years that we used to be chimps in it. I myself said that, you know what, the Anunnaki story makes sense to me. That they said, hey, let's get that. There's a being running around in the Abzu. The Abzu was deep South Africa. That's what they called the Abzu, ABZU. Hominins are a narrower group than hominids. Hominins consist of humans and species more closely related to us than chimpanzees. So let me show you a chart of what it looks like, because I created a chart today because, family, I have to understand this. I have to understand it. So let me come off screen share for a minute because I don't want to put anything on my screen that people are not supposed to be seeing. Let me come off screen share for a second, and I'm going to find this chart for you that I had created today. I had the AI create a chart for me today because I wanted to see all of these ancient, you know, beings. You know how they talk about Neanderthal and this one and that one. And I'm a regular gal. I do research myself. I wanted to know about this. I wanted to know about the hominins and hominids. So let me find this chart for you that I had created. And I think you're going to love it. Let's see. Here it is, hominins around the world. Let me blow it up. Hominins around the world. We're going to look at this chart. Okay, let's come on screen share. I got it for you. I found it. I found it. I got it. Let's go on screen share. A pale horse. Somebody is reading some deep stuff. Behold, a pale horse. They told you it's in books and it's in movies. They told us in books and movies. All right, let's look at these hominins. I made a chart. Here are the hominins that have been found in Africa. 7 million years ago, 4.4 million years ago, 3.9 million years ago. That's Lucy. 2.4 to 1.4 million years ago. They call Homo habilis handyman, or the one who made the tools. 2.4 to 1.4 million years ago. These were not humans, Homo sapiens like us. These were ancestors. They were doing other things. Homo erectus, 1.9 million to 110,000 years ago. First hominin to leave Africa, advanced tools, fire use. Okay. And then you have Homo sapiens. That's us. 300,000 years ago. Modern humans, complex culture and technology. Okay, but let's look in Asia. In Asia, there were actually dwarfs that were on the planet. So what you see in Lord of the Rings is not completely off. It's not completely fantasy. Homo erectus in Asia, 1.8 million to 200,000 years ago. The Hobbit. So when I say a dwarf, it was like a very small hominin in Indonesia. That's where they found the remains of they call this one Hobbit. The Denisovans, that's 200,000 to 50,000 years ago. In Europe, they found evidence of the Neanderthals, but look how much younger these are. So in the Americas, super young, 18,000 years ago, that's hardly anything, right? The Neanderthals in the Middle East, 70,000 to 40,000 years ago, 120,000 years ago, Homo sapiens in the Middle East. But look at Africa. 7 million years ago, 4.4 million years ago, 3.9 to 2.9 million years ago. So millions and millions and millions and millions of years, there have been different hominins. But not Homo sapiens, not us. How did we get to us? That's what I wanted to know. And I'm going to tell you right now how they got to us. What happened? We had a great leap forward. It's called the Great Leap Forward. It's also called human cognitive revolution. We can look it up. It's evolutionary biologists call it a great leap forward. It's a pivotal period in human evolution where there was a dramatic surge in cognitive, cultural, and technological capabilities. Like all of a sudden, we were super smart. All of a sudden, we were able to do amazing things. All of a sudden, we were able to interact with our environment and speak sophisticated. All of a sudden, we were able to understand complex concepts. How do scientists describe the Great Leap Forward? It's characterized by an ability to think abstractly and symbolically, like the cave paintings, about 70,000, 80,000 years old. Because before that, there's no kind of evidence that those earlier hominins, before Homo sapiens, could think of an afterlife, had burials, even though there were some that seemed to be somewhat devotional, yet not like us, not speaking in complex concepts that we're communicating now, not having advanced tool making, not being able to create technology, not being able to organize ourselves into cultural and societal structures, governance. Uh, there was a sudden explosion. That's what they keep calling it, a sudden explosion. Then all of a sudden, of artifacts and burial grave things buried in the grave goods. That means that something is going to happen after you die. The Great Leap Forward. In evolutionary terms, the cognitive and cultural advancements with the Great Leap Forward should have taken hundreds of thousands or even millions of years to develop naturally. If we were just doing what Darwin said, that's why I don't believe that Darwin was accurate. Very interesting. I keep saying it. Darwin said that origin of the species, but Darwin never pointed out the origin of the species. Darwin talked about the evolution of the species. But what happened with this Great Leap Forward? Something happened. We went from one thing to something else quick. What happened? It says what would have happened without the Great Leap Forward? I'm going to show you what gene, because I'm going to get to the bottom of it. What did they do to us? We were an experiment. What did they do? Without the Great Leap Forward, language would have taken another 200 to 500,000 years to develop, according to Darwin. Advanced tool making, we still wouldn't be making advanced tools. 500,000 to a million years later, we would never came up with a computer. Cultural complexity, art, spirituality, riches, devotion, understanding where you come from, existential questions. We wouldn't have been asking that for hundreds of thousands of years. Well, what happened? We had help. That's the only reasonable conclusion, that one way we were this hominin, kind of not that smart, and all of a sudden, bling, complex speaking, enhanced brain function, ability to communicate, understanding complex ideas, like somebody flipped a switch. Well, they say it was the FOXP2 gene. What is that? The fork head box P2 gene. It encodes a transcription factor. It's a protein that regulates the expression of other genes, so it turns on and off other genes. It plays a key role in brain development and motor control, particularly in their regions associated with speech and language. It's found on chromosome 7, and it's essential for the proper development of neural circuits involved in speech and language. Well, what did the Sumerian documents say? The Sumerian document said that the Igigi, known as the lesser gods, they're called the Watchers in the book of Enoch. The Bible calls them the Watchers. I say that the book of Enoch is part of the Bible because for me, all of this is the Bible. I take it all as the corpus of the Bible beyond just the canon. The Watchers got tired of doing all this heavy lifting, all this work all across Africa, all across the Abzu, mining gold. They were doing it for thousands of years because the Ijiji and the Elohim, also known as the Anunnaki, had super long lifespans. Read the Sumerian king list, that's in the book too. Anyway, they revolted. They said, we're not doing this anymore. And so the Sky Council, spoken of in Psalm 82, the Sky Council got together up in their space station in the sky and said, okay, what are we going to do? Because we need somebody to work for us. We're not going to do it. I mean, these are like the head honchos. They're not going to get down in the mines and dig. We need workers. We need worker bees. And the Ninhursag, who was Inky's, in some stories, Inky's sister, in some stories, Inky's consort. There are stories about Inky and Ninhursag. Ninhursag said, maybe we should do a gene mutation on an existing hominin that's already on this planet. Remember, these people were super advanced. And when did Inky say, oh, I saw them running around in the Abzu. This is all written down in Sumerian tablets. Yeah, I saw them in the Abzu. Let's go grab some and let's start our experimentation. They grab some of these hominins. It makes perfect sense for me. It's the only story that makes everything fall together in a neat puzzle. Because all these things that they're telling us, they're just not adding up. They went and got some of these hominins related to us, but they were not chimpanzees, orangutans, anything like that. They were, you saw the vast array of hominins that have been on this planet for millions of years. They saw something like that, but it's not talking. It doesn't understand when we communicate with it. It doesn't have complex thinking and concepts. We need it to talk to us, but we don't need it too smart, and we don't need it to be able to reproduce on their own. We're going to be in charge of their reproduction. This wasn't just for women. You know how they like to say, oh, the patriarchy, the men were trying to control the women's reproduction. No, boo. The Anunnaki was controlling the entire human race's population and reproduction. That's not a new concept. It's very old. Because originally, when they had this meeting and they came up with the plan of what they were going to do, it's all written down. It's all documented. You can read it. 7 tablets of creation, Enuma Elish, which is another version of Genesis, really. And so they say, yeah, we'll go get that. We'll round up a few of them and we'll begin our experimentation. And so Inky and Ninhursag went off into the Abzu, deep into the Abzu, Africa, South Africa, found these beings. And you can tell that none of these beings, our early ancestors, none of them were black or white. They were like, is a chimpanzee black or is a chimpanzee white? Is a Neanderthal black? Is a Neanderthal white? They're Neanderthals, Denisovans, right? These different hominins, they didn't have ranges of color. They look different. Each one is individual. So why are we the only ones to come up with color? You're yellow, you're black, you're white, you're a person of color. Okay, how about we don't do that anymore? So they began their experimentation. Ninhursag, chief scientist, Inky, super smart. These people are super smart. And they began their genetic modifications. And the first few that they did went very badly, as we know also from the ancient Sumerian tablets. Until finally, they got it right. I think they turned on this FOXP2 gene, among other genes, genetic, it was all genetic, so that we could communicate with speech, have highly evolved speech, because they needed to tell you things and you could respond. They needed communication. If we wanted to make a worker force, we have to have communication with the worker force, but we can't make them smarter than us because they've got to believe we're gods. So they begin their genetic manipulation and their mutations. They had surrogate mothers, Anunnaki women that birthed the babies. Some of them were a no-go. And then finally they got the mix right. And they when they got the mix right, they made several pairs, not just one pair. You can't have 8 billion people from 2 people. It is not genetically sustainable. By the fifth or sixth generation, everybody would have died because you have to have a diverse gene pool. That's science. So this whole story from the Bible that 8 billion people came from 2 people, it's a story. It's a very nice story. And it's a story telling you about the Anunnaki, that the Anunnaki had a garden kind of place. It was called the Gan Eden. And in the Eden, they had pairs, different pairs, so that they could breed. And they were breeding them. And they did not know that apparently they were captive breeders because they would put them in a beautiful place, let them just be in there. Beautiful trees, all the food they could want. It was lovely. And Inky one day told one of them, the woman, this is in the Bible, Eve, the serpent, though Inky is referred to as the serpent, all of put the pieces together, all of the ancient civilizations say it was a serpent, and it's still on the doctor's coat to this day, the caduceus, the winged serpent is everywhere. All the mythologies have the serpent. That is Inky, the winged serpent. When I was in Mexico, the Maya, it's called Kukulkan. Someone else, others call it Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. It's all over. It's all over. That's Inky. Kukulkan is Inky. Quetzalcoatl is Inky. So they did some genetic modifications. They made fine motor control, learning, plasticity in our neural pathways, ability to understand complex concepts, abilities for the brain to be activated in order to allow for speech, and not only for speech, for increased vocalization to learn many different languages, have a vast vocabulary, and to be able to now understand things like storytelling, myths, the cosmos. I mean, I thank the Anunnaki because if it was going to take us another million years to get all this shit together, who the fuck wants to wait a million years? Come on, Anunnaki, just flip our switches on. And they flipped them on. And there you have it. The Great Leap Forward, it compressed this slow, evolution is so slow. It's millions of years for one little genetic mutation to take place and then for it to spread throughout the whole population. Nope, not this. This was instant. And without it, humanity would probably still be at an age, we might still be Neanderthals. We might still be handyman, hobo habilis, the one that was making the tools. We might still be trying to start fires out in the woods. With rudimentary communication, certainly no storytelling, myth making, legends. I certainly wouldn't be able to have a YouTube channel, no complex culture. Now, the Sumerians, we're going to end it with this. The Sumerians told us that before Sumer was established, before Eridu, before Egypt, before the great states of Mesopotamia were established, the Abzu, where Enki was, Enki's land, Enki's beloved land, the Abzu was on and popping, just like we're finding now evidence, archaeological evidence for a vast civilization that existed in Southern Africa, over tens of thousands of square miles, mining gold, understanding geometry, understanding farming. They taught us many things. And that Inanna, there's a picture of Inanna in the Louvre Museum in France. Now, I've been to the Louvre twice, but next time I go to the Louvre, I'm going to look for this. Just put Inanna in the Paris Museum. Oh, it's not in the Louvre. Yeah, it is in the Louvre. Okay, and I want you to go to images, and you will see Inanna in Africa standing on two gazelle. Here it is. Now let's look close. Do you see a gazelle right here? Look very closely. There's one facing this way, and there's one facing that way, and she's standing. She was huge. And look at her wings. There's wings. Does everybody see the wings? It might not be easy to see. And she is in the Absu. She loved the Absu, also known as Africa. That was the Absu. Here she is again with the wings, standing on, look at her feet, standing on lions. Look how huge she is. And these are lions, okay? And many of the stories tell us that they were somewhat amphibian, like look at the feet, they don't look like ours. And in addition to that, Inanna's beloved, who is Dumuzi, Dumuzi is the son of Enki, Enki's son. They say that Dumuzi is buried in the Apsu because he loved it so much. And Inanna they loved Africa. They loved it. Maybe they loved it because of the gold. I don't know. They loved it. I do want to show you the book that I got this from so that you can go. I want you to look at the African Stonehenge because it is absolutely astounding. It's absolutely astounding. You new to the channel? Come on in, country boy. How you loving? How you loving? How you loving? How you loving? I'm so glad. Let's look at some of the comments. I'm so glad I found you and some others on here. I am too. I am too. So here's the book you want to get. And both these books. This one is mine. The Real God is Not in the Bible. And you can get it in the ebook version now. As I said, I'm still working on this book. And African Temples of Anunnaki. I'm going to flip you through just some pictures of some of the stone circles. Because when you look at these stone circles, it is just astounding. Astounding. Um, and Nikola Tesla, to finish the thought about Nikola Tesla earlier, this is what some of the stone walls look like. And they want to tell us that there were African tribes that were just going to the river and picking up these stones and bringing them. There are millions of these structures, millions of them. And they're not for pasture, for cattle. They're not for cattle. They're not for cattle. They're all over Southern Africa, all over. I'm going to show you a few more. And I want to show you some aerial views of some of these stone structures. I want to show you some aerial views because it's jaw dropping. It's just jaw dropping that things like this are on our planet and no one's talking about it. People don't want to talk about it. From the sky. And gosh, like what is happening that people don't want to talk about these things? Thank you for sharing the actual truth. I love it. Hey, country boy, have a deep thought-provoking question. Did Adam and Eve come before the Neanderthals, or the Neanderthals came before Adam and Eve? That's a good question. The Neanderthals came before. Yes, the Neanderthals came before Adam and Eve because the Neanderthals, the Denisovans, the Hobbit, as they call it. Now, the Neanderthals were. Let me be very clear about this timeline. Millions of years ago, there were hominins, not hominids. We talked about the difference. There were hominins in Africa. It was not a society. It was ancient, like how you see chimpanzee groups and things like that, like Lucy. Early hominins, they were in Africa. They were throughout the Rift Valley. Africa has the oldest and the most diverse of all the different groups of hominins. All of us are from Africa. even more than any other, more than Asia, more than Europe, more than any of these places. Now, some of those hominins migrated out of Africa to different places, to Asia, Indonesia. They made their way around the world. Yet there were still hominins in Africa, even though some of them groups, they were like in groups, like you would see a chimpanzee group or just a group of like family groups, different groups, right? Then they were migrating, they were moving about. Yet about 200,000 to 450,000 years ago, when the star people came here, and they were here living among the hominins. The hominins saw the star people, and the star people saw the hominins. They didn't interact with each other. They didn't need to, because the Ijiji, which were the lesser race, were working getting the gold for the Anunnaki, the big dudes that were in charge, right? And so they didn't interact with these hominins that were already on the planet. When the Anunnaki came, there were already different hominin types of groups on the planet existing. So then, when they had this uprising and the thing got really bad, um, Enlil was sleeping one night and they said it's a rabble around your house. These Gigi there's an uprising, and they're like, we're not doing this anymore. They have weapons and everything. We're not doing this anymore. They were working for thousands of years mining gold, and it was hard, hard, hard labor. Like they pressed them to hard labor. So then they said, okay, and Antu, Anu's wife of the head honcho, the one they call El Elyon in the Bible. El Elyon is Anu. Okay. Well, his wife, she said, we should give them a break. We shouldn't have them working like this. This is not good. They're right. And so they had to come up with a solution, because how are we going to get the gold? Well, we should make a slave species for ourselves. Wonder why humans are still addicted to slavery. We must love slavery because we keep doing it over and over and over. We just take turns enslaving each other. We love slavery. Why are we obsessed with slavery? Because that was what we were made for, basically. And I don't want to say that their intention, let me be very clear, their intention to make us into beings that would work for them does not override our true divine nature, which says that you are free. You're not anyone's slave. You never have been, never will be. You are a divine being. You're a divine being. The chimps are divine beings. The whales and dolphins on this planet, which are the highest intelligence on this planet, the killer whales, the orcas, the dolphins, are the highest intelligence on this planet, higher than humans. Mediums said that a long time ago. And when a medium said that, I was like, wow, that makes sense. And now that we study more and more about dolphins and about killer whales, we understand that their intelligence, biggest brains on the planet, their intelligence is way beyond humans. Also, elephant intelligence is very high. So we're not the highest intelligence on this planet. So they saw these different hominins around, and they said, well, we'll just get some of them. And they grabbed some of them and caged them up and started doing their experimentation. I feel bad for the hominins that they were experimenting on, especially the ones that didn't go well. Yet I'm glad that eventually the genetic mutations did work. They kept trying until they got to us. So Adam and Eve is the way of saying, it's the Bible code word for saying the first successful humans, Homo sapiens, that happened in the Great Leap Forward that evolutionary biologists are talking about, how do we make that great leap? All of a sudden, all of a sudden, we know how to talk. All of a sudden, we know how to not just speak, we know complex speech. All of a sudden, we can sing. All of a sudden, we can tell stories. All of a sudden, we have better motor skills, which obviously, you would need better motor skills to be able to work for people and do the work that they wanted us to do. You need good motor skills. So they wanted us to have good motor skills, but once again, they controlled the reproduction until until Ninhursag and Enki gave the humans the ability to reproduce on their own without going back to the Sky Council and getting permission. And when Enlil found out about that, he was hot. He was mad. What? And then they started reproducing and reproducing and reproducing. And next thing you know, the Ijiji and the humans are mixing together. It was a mess. Then the women were having these huge, ginormous babies. The giants that the babies were giving birth to were so big that some of the women were dying when they were giving birth to the babies. And we know them as the giants. In the Bible, the Nephilim. It's all in the Bible. That's why we cannot look at the Bible as a spiritual book. We cannot look at the Bible as a holy book. If we do, we're just so lost in all the stories and miracles of the Bible. It's so amazing. Oh, a flood. God sent the flood to kill the Nephilim and the evil people. No, it didn't. The flood came as a natural occurrence on this planet, and the Anunnaki knew it was coming, and they said, we're not going to tell the humans. We're just going to let them get wiped out because this was a bad idea. Yet Enki loved his high priest so much, Sudra, also known as Noah in the Bible, also known as Utnapishtim. He has different names and different stories. These stories are way older than the Bible, way older than the Bible, way older than the Bible. He told Utnapishtim, something's coming, something's coming. You better build a boat. Get out of here. And bring with you seeds. Bring with you seeds. Bring with you the genetic material, because Enki had laboratories. It's hard to believe. Laboratories with genetic material. These are geneticists. They have genetic material from different beings. Bring that with you in the ark. Not bring 2 mice and 2 worms and 2 aardvarks and 2 camels and 2 lions, but keep the lions away from the 2 bunny rabbits. Oh, what a dumbed down children's story they're trying to get us to believe. They brought 2 of everything onto a boat, and they were on there for 40 days and 40 nights. But how did you keep the lions and the tigers from eating all the? How did you keep the bears from? How did the Alaskan bears come from Alaska? Did, did the snakes come out of the Amazon? Did the crocodiles come on? What you bought water on for the crocodiles, or maybe you didn't need to bring crocodiles on because they can live in the water. I mean, these are insane stories if we take them at face value. They have a deeper meaning. And the meaning that it has is far beyond Christian. It's for the whole human race, and indeed for the galactic family. I'm out of here. I'll see you next week, Wednesday, with some more deliciousness. Reverend Valerie Love. Make sure, there go my fireworks. I love it. Make sure you get the book. And if you have the book, please do leave a review. So important. Leave a review. Leave a review. I love you. I love you. I love you. Share this information to everyone you know about the African Stonehenge. And let's enlighten the whole world so we can get ready to meet our galactic cousins. I want to meet some Anunnaki, don't you? Don't you want to meet some of these star people, some of these people from Sirius and Orion and all? I want to meet them. So let's get together. Peace.